The whispers started faint, a murmur on online forums, but with each passing day, the speculation grew louder. Codenamed NX, rumors of Nintendo's next-gen console, the Switch 2, have sent shockwaves through the gaming world. Is it a mere upgrade or a revolutionary leap forward? Will it boast mind-blowing graphics or a never-before-seen way to play? For months, these questions have swirled unanswered. Nintendo has finally said something about the suspected Nintendo Switch 2. Now we know for sure that a new device is being made, and the company has planned to make them public at some point this fiscal year. That means we might have to wait a few months before we hear anything official. We're putting together all the leaks and reports right now. Until then, since the original Nintendo Switch came out 6 years ago, the Switch Lite and Nintendo Switch OLED models have come out. The Switch Lite has a smaller, more flexible design, and the Nintendo Switch OLED has a better OLED screen. However, neither model was able to improve the original model's specs. We still think it's the best mobile game system for most players though, because it has a great library and works well on the go. There have been a lot of reports over the last few years that the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming this year, and that it will have a lot of new features and specs. Nintendo hasn't officially announced or hinted at any new hardware. Here's everything we know about the Nintendo Switch 2 so far, including when we think the next Nintendo system will come out. At first, we thought the Nintendo Switch 2 would come out in the last 3 months of 2024. However, Nintendo's first and only comment about the next device suggests that this date has likely been pushed back. The company said in a letter on X that it planned to announce the Nintendo Switch 2 within this fiscal year, which ends in March 2025. There have been leaks and reports about a delay from the original planned 2024 release date, which fits with this. On February 16, Brazilian writer Pedro Henrique Luddy-Lip added a new episode to the OX2 Control YouTube page. In it, they say that 5 different insiders have told them that the Nintendo Switch 2 has been pushed back. The Japanese website Nikkei said on February 26 that the Nintendo Switch 2 would now come out in March 2025. They said that Nintendo was pushing the date to make sure they had enough units to meet demand and beat scalpers. Since then, Moore's Law is dead. A reliable leaker has come up with another possible reason for the delay. A video posted on YouTube on February 29 showed how Nvidia sources talked to the leaker and said that the machine has been finished for a while and the company is just waiting to launch it. What's more important is that the answer says, Nintendo isn't Sony. They see delays as something that will make their games better when they launch. Original emphasis added. Nintendo might be delaying the release of the Nintendo Switch 2 to keep scalpers away, but it's also possible that the launch games aren't ready for the system yet. There were a lot of predictions that the new system would come out at the end of the year. Several news sources said that 2024 will be the second year of the Switch, and that the device will still have the handheld mode and disc slot. That also included GameShark, who came back from the dead and jokingly mentioned the Nintendo Switch 2 and when it would be released, but then quickly said it was just a guess. There are a lot of theories and predictions that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be more of an incremental update than a full redesign of the current hardware. Think about the difference between the Nintendo 3DS and the new Nintendo 3DS. The new Nintendo 3DS mostly added better 3D quality, some extra buttons, like a second set of shoulder buttons, and a C-stick instead of totally redesigning the Nintendo 3DS. Emails from Activision say that Switch 2 will have specs that are closer to OLED 4 and Xbox One. This doesn't help. The style is likely to stay mostly the same with a few small changes. There will still be a dock for it, and it might be able to upscale to 4K instead of just 1080p using DLSS 2. But Digital Foundry says we don't know yet if Nvidia's T239, the chip that will power the Switch 2, has the deep learning accelerator parts that are needed to make that happen. The Nintendo Switch 2 will probably be bigger than the first one too. There was a recent leak from the Spanish site Vandal that says the new device's controls will join magnetically and that the gamepads will be bigger. There is also word in the story that the Nintendo Switch 2 will work with the current Pro controller. One story from VGC says that the Switch 2 might not use an OLED panel for its screen, but instead use an LCD screen to save money. This has been made stronger by a story from Bloomberg that quotes Omdia expert Hiroshi Hayase. Some players might think that choice was a step backwards now that the Steam Deck OLED is also out there, but it does give Nintendo options for future models that are better. Instead of putting money into OLED right away, Nintendo is reportedly thinking about making the Nintendo Switch 2's storage better and bigger. It might have eMMC storage, like the first-generation Steam Deck, which is faster than the Switch's present onboard memory. Good news in another area too, or at least we hope it is. There are reports that Nintendo is moving the Joy-Cons for the Switch to a new system that will get rid of stick movement. Laura Kate Dale found a patent that says the Nintendo Switch 2 could use Hall effect analog sticks. This would stop the stick drift that happens with the current Joy-Cons because of wear and tear. New rumors say that the Nintendo Switch 2 might have a custom NVIDIA chip, 8GB of LPDDR5 or RAM, 64GB of MSC storage, support for DLSS 2 and FSR 3, an 8-inch LCD screen, and longer battery life. The above spec sheet is more likely to be true, but there are reports that a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro with better specs could come out at the same time and cost more. In an interview with Nikkei translated by VGC, Nintendo's president Shuntaro Furukawa said that the company will support the current Nintendo Switch until at least 2025. This is good news for people who don't want to upgrade right away to the Switch 2. Shuntaro Furukawa did say a few more things about that in a Nintendo financial data meeting from the end of FY22 though. He said that the company's main goal is to build long-term relationships with our customers through Nintendo accounts. Even though we'll keep putting out new software for the Nintendo Switch, we want to keep in touch with customers across generations of hardware by using Nintendo accounts and services and giving them chances to experience our IP in non-gaming ways. That definitely points to at least some kind of digital backwards compatibility. However, rumors about the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware say that the next console will still have a disc slot, so you should be able to play your physical Switch games on it when it comes out. There are reports that the Nintendo Switch 2 will cost more than $400. The Nintendo Switch OLED costs $349.99 right now. The Nintendo Switch 2 could have an MSRP of no more than $499 though. However, that's what an analyst said as part of the GI.biz 2024 expert forecast piece. So it's not exactly set in stone yet. But when we look at how much machines like the Steam Deck OLED, PlayStation Portal, and Asus ROG Ally cost in stores, $400 does seem like a pretty good price. Most of those devices, though, have better specs that make them worth the higher prices. That mind-melting glimpse into the Nintendo Switch 2's future ends here, but the whispers will continue. What features will truly come to life? How will it change the way we play? Let us know in the comments below what leaked features excite you the most and what dream features you hope to see become reality. Until next time, keep on gaming. The Nintendo Switch 2 speculations have accelerated recently while being far from confirmed. The aging hardware and the fact that the Nintendo Switch is 6 years old suggests that the Japanese gaming behemoth is probably developing a successor. The Switch 2 may be that console. Nintendo usually releases whole new platforms that improve upon the capabilities and features of their ancestors, or the business tries something entirely different. With regard to its portable equipment, it has often been more iterative. As a result, even if the Switch 2 isn't officially named, we're certain that it will be Nintendo's next huge gaming console. We anticipate significant power gains, an OLED display as standard, and 4K output capability to match the finest TVs now available for purchase. In light of that, here are our current theories on what we know and would want to see about the Nintendo Switch 2. We would tentatively propose that a second-generation Switch might appear during the next 12 months, given that 2 recent reports have surfaced hinting at and teasing the possibility of a Switch 2. The Switch 2 is reportedly scheduled for release around the same time as the PS5 Pro. Although we had anticipated that Nintendo's newest hardware would be released in 2023, President Shuntaro Furukawa said of the company's annual financial report that no hardware releases are scheduled for the next fiscal year. This implies that the Switch 2 won't be released until after March 2024. A report from Chinese investment site MoneyJ, which outlined the production outlook at Han High Technology Group subsidiary Hongzhen, a manufacturer of metal cases, gave some credence to a release in the first quarter of 2024. The report stated that Hongzhen expects to benefit from the launch of the Switch 2, presumably by manufacturing parts of the console. The same journal then said that early in 2024, a new Japanese game console is expected to be released, according to sources from a CMOS sensor vendor that works with Nintendo. We interpret it to be the Nintendo Switch 2. While most rumors indicate that a 2024 debut is the goal, individuals claiming to have knowledge of Nintendo's next-gen console plans indicate that Nintendo is aiming for a second half of 2019 release date. Contrary to popular belief, a recent analyst report suggests that a release in March or April 2024 may be planned. This would enable Nintendo to fend off the PS5's current sales momentum. According to a recent rumor, a late summer debut is feasible. A Nintendo job posting for a marketing intern mentions that the months of June through August can be quite busy, implying that a significant marketing campaign might be underway at that time. Another tip from a leaker with a track record of releasing reliable information also implies that Nintendo is aiming for a 2024 release date. The Nintendo Switch OLED costs $349. Therefore, we'd venture to estimate that the price of the next Switch would be in the neighborhood of that amount, particularly if an OLED display is used. But according to a new leak from a whistleblower whose credibility for accurate information varies, the Nintendo Switch 2 will only set you back $399. That would also make sense at a time when hardware costs are generally on the rise, even if it is $50 more than the Switch OLED. It is reasonable to anticipate that Nintendo will continue to use an NVIDIA system on a chip, most likely an upgraded version of the Tegra X1 processor, which powers the present Switch. Considering the popularity and reach of the Switch, we wouldn't be shocked if Nintendo also received a customized chipset from NVIDIA. However, AMD's developments, which are evident in the Valve Stream Deck and Asus ROG Ally, might provide Team Red a chance to supply the chips for a Switch that comes out in the future. Nevertheless, we would still err on the side of NVIDIA, after a frenzied rumor that suggested a Tegra chip based on Samsung's 5nm manufacturing node, which the source who first brought it to our attention later denied. We now firmly believe that the Nintendo Switch 2 will have an NVIDIA processor at its core. Calculating potential power or clock speeds would be challenging. However, we'd like to think Nintendo will be able to access enough CPU and GPU power to provide a next-generation gaming experience. A possible coprocessor chip to reside in the dock of a Switch 2 or the previously leaked Nintendo Switch Pro was mentioned in whispers. When docked and connected to a 4K TV, this additional chip would be utilized to increase the console's power and visual output. Although there have been no further speculations about it, such a feature would be amazing. The 512 GB of onboard storage that has been leaked would be a major improvement above the 32 GB and 64 GB of the original Switch and Switch OLED, respectively. The Switch 2 is aiming for an OLED screen on the display side, which is similar to the Switch OLED. However, an increase in refresh rates, let's say from 60 Hz to 120 Hz, as seen in the finest phones, would be ideal. We're crossing our fingers, but there are no rumors to back this up. But Sharp, the company that manufactures the Switch displays already in use, has said that it is developing a new LCD panel for a new gaming console. This may be the Switch 2. If so, the Switch 2 could have outdated screen technology compared to the Switch OLED, which would be disappointing. Sharp could be alluding to another system that hasn't been shown yet. However, we have our doubts that the Switch 2 will come without OLED displays as standard. A new report that the Switch 2 would ship with an LCD panel to save manufacturing costs has only served to heighten our concerns. Additionally, there is a fresh report from tipster Natate that feeds the speculation that the Nintendo Switch 2 may use an LCD display. Although there aren't many clues regarding the features of the Nintendo Switch 2, we can make some informed guesses. We hope to see improved Joy-Cons with less stick wandering and analog triggers for more accurate control in games like racing if the Switch 2 maintains the same control layout as the Switch. If Nintendo does truly adhere to the Switch's basic design, a few ergonomic adjustments for the Switch 2 would also be welcome. Additionally, we would want to see a longer battery life for the Switch because titles like Breath of the Wild can drain the device's battery in a matter of hours. It would undoubtedly be a more practical gaming device for longer international trips if it had a larger battery. An improved Nintendo Switch 2 Wi-Fi connection is another feature we'd like to see. Improved Wi-Fi may not be the first improvement that comes to mind, but it may make a big difference for things like streaming games or quickly downloading them. There's a suggestion for a new Mario game for the Nintendo Switch 2. and it seems like the Unreal 4 engine will be used to produce it. A rumor that the system would arrive with a new 3D Mario game has added credence to this original leak. Additionally, the system will get Mario Kart X, a brand new Mario Kart game in the second year of its existence. According to reports, it's the most expensive game Nintendo has ever produced. Additionally, there are rumors that the Switch 2 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake looks and runs like a PS5 game. The 2020 game is undoubtedly one that the current Switch couldn't handle, and it may be a great way to demonstrate the device's capabilities when it launches. According to a recent rumor by Eurogamer, a few developers were granted access to the Nintendo Switch 2 at the Gamescom 2023 trade event in Germany. According to the website's sources, Nintendo demonstrated the capabilities of the Switch 2 with a new version of Breath of the Wild. However, it's unclear whether the demo is intended for actual release or if a revised version of the game will ever be made available to the general public. Big first-party titles like a new Zelda game should definitely make an appearance on the Switch 2, and probably a fresh take on Mario Kart. However, as of this writing, any possible further games are only conjecture and fantasy. Backwards compatibility is something we really hope to see in the Nintendo Switch 2, especially considering how eagerly users have been waiting for it on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Ideally, this will lead to better visual fidelity and a performance boost when older Switch games are played on more modern hardware. A troubling new rumor suggests that the Switch 2 may not have backwards compatibility for Switch games. That would be a little disappointing, and if Nintendo isn't going to depend on its more known and older game catalog, it would need to have a fantastic launch roster for the next generation Switch. We have also maintained that the Switch Joy-Cons must likewise be backwards compatible. Backup Joy-Cons may be a costly add-on for the existing Switch, so it would be frustrating if the Switch 2 made them unnecessary. We also expect that the Switch 2 will work with other current Switch accessories, such as the Ring Fit Adventure and external controllers. If you've enjoyed speculating on what the future holds for our beloved handheld console, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop on all things gaming. What are your thoughts on these leaks? Which feature or improvement are you most excited about for the Nintendo Switch 2? Let us know in the comments down below. We love hearing from our gaming community. Remember the feeling? The pure, unadulterated hype leading up to a new Nintendo release? The endless speculation, the leaked images, the promise of groundbreaking features? While that feeling might be on hold, the next Nintendo console, shrouded in secrecy, has been hit with a wave of delays. Nintendo themselves are staying tight-lipped, leaving gamers scrambling for answers. Is this a minor hiccup or a sign of something more serious? Could the new console be facing technical difficulties? Are they waiting for the right moment to strike? When it comes to the imminent release of its highly anticipated gaming system, Nintendo Switch 2, it would seem that Nintendo is paying a great deal of attention to a number of significant elements. According to a new report from the Japanese publication Nikkei, the company has reportedly decided to delay the release of the product until March 2025 due to the possibility that it will face the same major issue that botched Sony's release of its PlayStation 5 and Microsoft's rollout of its Xbox Series X and S consoles in 2020. This is because the company is so concerned about the possibility of the product experiencing the same major issue. According to a report that was translated from Nikkei, Nintendo postponed the introduction of the Nintendo Switch 2 because the business prioritized taking measures to prevent resale and securing an initial stock of successor machines and an assortment of popular software from the time of release. This was the reason for the delay. The release of the Nintendo Switch 2, which is said to feature a screen that is bigger than the one on its predecessor and would enable users to play games in high definition, was initially anticipated to take place at some point during this year. After the Street made a request for a response, Nintendo did not immediately react to the inquiry. It should come as no surprise that Nintendo may be taking further efforts to increase the supply of the future console. This is done in an attempt to prevent scalpers from acquiring the product in large quantities and then reselling it at inflated costs. This particular problem has produced significant headwinds for Nintendo's rivals compared to other companies. Microsoft unveiled the new Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S game consoles on November 10, 2020. They were so popular that only a few hours passed before they were completely sold out. As a result, various websites that were selling the product crashed owing to the strong demand and limited supplies. Additionally, it was alleged that scalpers were selling the goods that were sold out for more than $1,000 immediately after they were published. 2 days later, Sony eventually made the PlayStation 5 available for purchase online, and it was gone in a matter of seconds. Consumers were upset when they discovered that scalpers had employed bots to acquire the goods in large numbers. This further depleted the restricted quantity of consoles, leaving many consumers without any consoles to purchase. Additionally, the Xbox Series X and S consoles and the PlayStation 5 were all restricted in stock owing to a worldwide chip shortage, which had a detrimental impact on the manufacture of both devices for a number of years. This was in addition to the high demand for which they were already in high demand. A drop in sales of the Nintendo Switch is now being seen, despite the fact that Nintendo introduced its first Nintendo Switch in 2017. According to Nintendo's financial report for the fourth quarter of 2023, the company disclosed that the Switch's hardware sales had declined by 7.8% compared to the previous year. Nintendo expects that there will not be any significant improvements with sales of the product in the foreseeable future. Software sales also decreased by 4.7% year-on-year, and Nintendo predicts that this trend will continue. Shuntaro Furukawa, the president of Nintendo, said on a recent earnings call that the company does not believe it would be able to sustain sales at the same level as in the past. This statement was made in light of the fact that the Nintendo Switch is approaching its 9th year. The Nintendo Switch 2, which might be the successor to the Nintendo Switch, has been the subject of a great deal of speculation as well. Now that the hybrid gaming handheld has been around for well over 7 years, with its first model being introduced on March 3, 2017, it seems that it is quite probable that we will hear news about Nintendo's next system at some point in the future months. To put it another way, during the course of the last 3 generations, the majority of console makers have introduced a new product around every 6 to 7 years. On October 8, 2021, the Nintendo Switch got its most recent hardware update, which coincided with the introduction of the Nintendo Switch OLED. In spite of the fact that the Nintendo Switch OLED has an upgraded OLED display, in addition to increased internal storage and enhanced speakers, there have been no significant enhancements made to the power of the device itself. Despite the fact that the vast majority of the top Nintendo Switch games run fairly smoothly, the Nintendo Switch only has 4 GB of random access memory, or RAM, and a somewhat constrained NVIDIA Tegra X1 processor. This presents a significant challenge. More recent releases from third-party developers such as Kingdom Come, Deliverance, and Biomutant seem to push the system to its ultimate limit, resulting in frame rates that are unstable and graphics that are significantly damaged. Additionally, the system is only capable of playing games at a resolution of up to 720 while it is running in handheld mode. While it is docked, the maximum resolution that can be played is 1080. It makes a lot of sense for Nintendo to go back to the drawing board and improve the hardware under the hood in order to better compete with the competition now that the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have been on the market for a few years. Both of these consoles are capable of playing games at a smooth 60 frames per second and an impressive 4K resolution. Eccleston allegedly used information from his own sources as well as a report from the Korean United Daily News to create the spec sheet. The Nintendo Switch 2 is expected to include a Cortex-A78AE CPU with 8 cores, 8 GB of RAM, and 64 GB of internal eMMC storage, according to this specification sheet. In spite of the fact that this is not very spectacular in comparison to the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, it would still be an increase in power when compared to the Nintendo Switch variants that are now available. In addition, the same source suggests that the Nintendo Switch 2 may have a battery life that is far better than its predecessor, in addition to having a frame rate of 120 Hz and a 7-inch OLED display. Ecclestone thinks that the general design of the device will most likely be comparable to that of the OLED display seen on the Nintendo Switch. However, this contradicts earlier rumors that stated that a mini LED display would be utilized for the panel. This is an interesting development. In a story that was published by Taiwan's Economic Daily News, it was said that a successor to the Nintendo Switch would display mini LED panels that were provided by Innolux. Going even farther back in time, Wikitex stated that a data miner known as Cyrism has said that they have discovered reference to a new Nintendo Switch model inside the most recent firmware update for the Nintendo Switch, which is referred to as the ALA codename. According to one source, the hardware enhancement might be inside a new dock and not inside the tablet. One is in contrast to the argument that the change is being made inside the Nintendo Switch itself. On the other hand, they do mention that there is no way to tell from the firmware code in the present moment. In addition, there have been rumors about the Nintendo Switch Pro, which were brought up by a hacked email from Nvidia that claimed the existence of the Tegra 239 system on a chip. According to reports, this was being developed expressly for a new Nintendo Switch model, which might very well refer to the Nintendo Switch 2 in the future. Despite the fact that Nintendo has dabbled with virtual reality capability via the use of Nintendo Labo, the company would need to have some fairly robust technology in order to give a full VR experience comparable to Sony's PSVR 2. Although it is not completely impossible, it is very improbable that Nintendo would be able to produce a portable gaming system that is capable of supporting virtual reality gaming and has visuals that are comparable to those of a console. Despite the fact that Sony and Microsoft are continuing to increase their presence in the 4K market, Nintendo does not necessarily have a compelling motive to follow suit. During an interview, the general manager of Nintendo France, Philippe Lavouette, dismissed the concept of 4K by stating that the technology has not been adopted by the majority, and that it would be premature for Nintendo to participate in the technology. The reasons behind the new Nintendo's delay are still a bit cloudy, but we shed some light on the possibilities. While waiting can be frustrating, remember, sometimes the best things come to those who wait. Hopefully, Nintendo is using this extra time to polish the console into a true masterpiece. In the meantime, stay tuned for further updates and analysis as we approach the, hopefully, confirmed release date. Thanks for joining us on this dive into the world of delayed excitement. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming mysteries and news.